Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Another live. Can you let me know if you can hear me? I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me as people start entering into the room. Okay, great. Fabulous. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Settle in. It's good to see you. I brought in a lot of beans, a lot of energy. So when you're listening to this, go ahead and open up your crown chakra and settle into your body and your breath if you have the ability to. And just drop in. I'm going to be sharing a personal story. It's great to be here with you guys live. Hi, Kaz. Hi, Tanya and Jody, Enchanted Soul, Norman, Tally, Linda, Drusilla, Jay, everybody. So I'm going to share a personal story tonight, today, this morning, wherever you are on the earth plane. And I'm going to bring us into a much higher perspective. And I'm going to be talking about what it actually looks like to practice being in higher states of consciousness. The reason I'm sharing my personal story is because it actually provides an example of what it actually looks like when you are learning how to be in higher states. So it's not always a walk in the park, right? Shifting, ascending, being in higher states of consciousness is not always easy. And the ascension journey, ascending into and becoming these higher frequency beings, as we are in the form, takes a lot of practice. It's not enough to just feel the higher states, i.e., unity, love, joy, peace, expansion, alignment, neutrality. It's not enough to just feel those. So there is a lot of action and practice that we have to partake in as we begin to and continue to ascend and shift into these higher states. There's all these stages, there's all these layers, there's all these levels. And because we are navigating this for the first time, blindly, we don't know what it looks like. We don't have a booklet. And so it's like the blind leading the blind, right? We don't know what these higher states look like. We actually don't know what 5D consciousness actually looks like in an everyday, daily now, because we haven't been there yet from a 3D consciousness. We haven't actually ever physically ascended in this way. And for those of us that have incarnated into a 5D form before, we forgot a lot of what it is like, what it means to be in that. And there are belief systems, programs, and paradigms that we have to consciously dissolve in order to continue to ascend. And we have to step into ways of being that we have never been before. Ways of being that are uncomfortable. Ways of being that require deeper and deeper surrendering. You thought you surrendered before, guess what? There's even more. You thought you let go of control, guess what? There's even more. There is always more. There is always more to learn. There's always more to practice. There's always more to experience. We have just begun to experience what is available for us. So let me share a little bit about what I've been going through the last couple of weeks and what I was literally forced into by my guides. So a couple of weeks ago, I went to Yosemite and I drank water from a faucet and I got a parasite. And I'm really in tune with my body. I listen to my body. My body and I are like this. We speak all the time, very close. And as soon as I got back from Yosemite, I knew something was off. I could tell because anything I ate didn't get digested. There was all kinds of very strange movements happening down there, sensations, sounds. Things were just not right. Bloatedness, uncomfortableness, tightness. And because I'm so in tune with my body, I knew exactly when it started. And so for the first week and a half, I do what I normally do, which is just let the body do its job, right? I just allowed the body to take care of itself. But what I started noticing was I started focusing on it. I started bringing my attention to it. And I noticed that the more I brought my attention to it, the more intense and uncomfortable the sensations became. It was almost as if it started to get worse. And as it started to get worse, because I was concerned about it, I was worried about it, I, Lori, ego personality, now became concerned, like it was my job. I found myself going through this, diving deep into this consciousness that I don't normally experience, which is fear, control, worry, and belief systems and paradigms that are boxed into specific ways of being. Now, I want to preface all of this by saying there is absolutely nothing wrong with belief systems. There's nothing wrong with paradigms. There's nothing wrong with programs. Nothing. We have needed belief systems. We've needed programs. We've needed paradigms in order to survive in the 3D world. In this kind of health story that I'm talking about, a belief system in the health industry would be, take supplements, take vitamins, take antibiotics, take probiotics, eat these foods, only eat these foods, intermittent fast, keto diet, right? These are all belief systems. They're all paradigms. They're all ways of being. And they all are in a box, right? There's a specific way of doing that belief system. And they all work. All of them work. Otherwise, they wouldn't be belief systems. So I want to preface this by saying that just because my experience is going to be my experience doesn't mean that all of the other belief systems aren't perfect and they don't work. They work, right? So when we start moving into higher states of consciousness, we will find ourselves moving out of these belief systems. We will find ourselves moving out of these paradigms and programs, no matter how intense they are. Because in the higher states, you're more energy, you're more frequency, you're more light. And when you move into more of a light instead of a density, belief systems don't make sense. You're moving out of a linearity and more into a quantum space where anything and everything is available. And when you start looking back at belief systems, it's very rigid. Again, there are many belief systems that I still hold and that I still live in. Okay? But it is really important for us to start looking at our belief systems because they create our reality. And many of us are being asked to step out of these belief systems. They no longer resonate. So back to my story. I am feeling more intense pain. It's harder for me to eat foods. The more I am focusing on this parasite in my lower intestine, my small intestine, the more intense it gets. I start Googling, I start researching, I start asking my mom. My mom's giving me all these things to take. My friend's giving me all these things to take. I'm researching and I'm learning, oh my God, you should be doing probiotics. You should be doing this, right? The more I am inundated by information from professionals and by family and friends, the more I get into this control mode. Oh my God, I've got to control this. I've got to figure this out. I've got to do this. I being ego personality Lori. And the more I dive into it and try to figure it out, the more intense the pain gets, right? The more intense the physical sensations get. It's a spiral, right? And as all of this is happening externally, I'm Googling, I'm researching, I'm diving into all this stuff. It doesn't feel good. It's consumed in fear. And because I don't typically play in these programs and paradigms, I don't play in belief systems that hold fear. There's very few systems that I play in that are linear, right? Because I was playing in them, meaning participating in them, believing them, buying into them, I was like, oh my God, this feels heavy. This doesn't feel right. Something's not feeling right. Now, I am somebody that is highly connected to my guides, right? I'm highly connected to my body. And yet here I was finding myself literally being pummeled and like in this spiral with this physical ailment. And I'm watching myself saying, this isn't how it's supposed to be, Lori. This is not how it's supposed to go. You are holding a much higher frequency right now. None of this resonates. This doesn't feel right. What are you actually doing? I'm trying to control things. Well, where does control come from? It comes from fear. Well, where is fear? Fear is coming from this desire to heal this myself, right? And last night, after I did all of these things, I went to this homeopathic doctor. I got all of these different things. I got an immune booster shot. Like I was just like, Lori is in charge. I laid in my bed and I said, okay, I'm done. I think I'm done now. I'm done. And my guides said to me, turn your back from the parasites. Turn your back. Turn away from it. And my body said, why are you not listening to me? Because what my body has been asking me to do is absolutely nothing. Do nothing. My guides have been telling me to literally turn my back and get back to what I'm designed to do in every now, which is be in the now and not be concerned with what is happening with my body. Now, this is a brand new state of being. To experience something physically happening to you that doesn't feel good and to be in a state where you are not doing anything for it because the body itself is holding so much light that it knows exactly what to do is a little bit of a challenge. What my guide said was, Lori, your body is holding so much light and energy that you have been trying to control a frequency that is higher than any belief system. You're trying to control an energy and light that doesn't need supplements. It doesn't need an immune shot. It doesn't need green juice. It doesn't need garlic tabs. It doesn't need oregano oil. These are all the things I was taking. It doesn't need Chlorophyll, it doesn't, I mean, I was taking seriously, I spent hundreds of dollars, right? They're saying your body doesn't need that. Your body is light, high frequency, intelligent light, which equals energy. It isn't much smarter than the egoic aspect of you that is trying to pull in belief systems in order to heal it. It makes sense what I was trying to do because we have been designed to heal ourselves that way. Because we've been in lower frequencies. When the body is holding lower frequencies, it needs assistance. Hey, can you give me some of this? Hey, can you give me some of this, right? We listen and we're like, oh no, my body says it wants a digestive enzyme, right? Oh no, my body says it wants this or that, whatever it is, right? But when we let our belief systems tell us what our body needs, we are no longer listening to our bodies. So what was happening was I was listening to a belief system, not my body. My body was saying, I need you to rest. I need you to ignore everything. And I need you to let me take care of it, which means you do nothing. And ACV oil, apple cider vinegar. That was it. I said, I'm not so sure about that. I don't know if that's actually true because it's not happening fast enough. So I'm going to dive in and play in this, and I'm going to tap into belief systems, and I'm going to try to move things into my system and help you out, body. A body that's vibrating at a very high frequency, that's all energy and knows exactly what to do. Let me tell you actually what's happening. Let me give you some supplements because all these people tell me that that's what you need, body. These professionals. Now, again, let me preface, all of those belief systems work. They're extremely important and they heal, they reduce symptoms, right? What I am trying to bring about in our awareness is, are you listening to the body or are you listening to a belief system? Those are two very separate things. It's the same thing as listening to the ego and listening to the higher self. When we start moving into these higher states of consciousness, we have to be in a totally different way. I sat there this morning and recognized and realized with this massive download that came in that I now have to surrender to the trust that my body is going to get rid of these parasites regardless of what anyone else says out there. Which then means that I am going to be bumping up against opinions and beliefs of people coming in and saying, oh, you're not going to heal it. Oh, well, you know what? This is actually what's going to heal it. You're going to have it for 6 more months. Oh, well, you know what? That's not a good idea because of this, this, this. Oh, well, good luck, right? All these people's opinions. The only thing that matters to me is what my guides and my body is telling me. And because we are way showers, because we are designed to move into the higher states first, before anyone else, we have to trust. We have to do things completely different. We are designed to heal ourselves through light, through the body's light. The body knows how to heal itself. As we move into these higher states, we start to remember this more and more. We start to get aware of, holy shit, that's a belief system. I listened to somebody, they told me I need this, and now I'm taking this. Did your body ask for it, right? Now, this is just a small experience I'm having. I don't have cancer, right? I don't have something so intense that would really push up against what they're asking me to do. I don't believe I would be able to just sit and heal cancer. I think I would freak the F out and go to the doctor and get chemotherapy. That's just me personally. Radiation, whatever I needed, right? So I say this because we are learning how to do this in baby steps. You don't just shoot into and start being in these higher states of consciousness just like that. Boom. My body's just going to heal everything that comes, and it's going to be easy and awesome. And that's just the way it is. It is baby steps, and it's baby steps blindly, which means we've got to get really authentic and really honest about what that looks like and what that feels like, right? When you're sick, when you have ailments, when you're knocked out, how are you being? In that now moment, can you be in the higher states that your higher self is asking you to be in? Can you surrender and remember, oh my God, okay, can I trust in this now that my body is light and I know that it's continuing to increase in light? And I know that as it increases in light, that means it's more energy, it's more energized, it's more energetic. And that means that anything that comes into my system will be cleared and healed by it because it knows exactly what's happening. It knows that there's something in there that's not supposed to be in the small intestine. If I intervene, ego, personality, intervene, then I'm trying to control. It's like anything else in this ascension process. The more we let go and surrender, the easier it becomes. So here's the funny thing. I let go, right? I surrendered. I said, fine, what's my choice? And everything has shifted in me today. I've been able to eat like I haven't been able to eat in a couple weeks. My system doesn't feel anything like it felt yesterday or the day before or the day before that. The second I surrendered, energetically let go, my body was like, thank you, God. Now I can just finish this up. Now I can finish this up. When you are standing in a 5D frequency at all times, so your body is holding a 5D field. Most of us are not there yet, right? Your body heals instantaneously. So anything that comes into the system, it heals instantaneously. It's not even a thought process that the 5D human has. The 5D human doesn't even think, oh, I need to heal this. It knows that the body is going to heal it literally instantaneously. And each of our bodies are vibrating in different frequencies. There's a spectrum. Just like your body fluctuates in weight, your frequency fluctuates, but it is always increasing. What does that mean? It means, let's say that right now, currently, I am vibrating. So the spectrum, let me talk about the spectrum for a second. A third dimensional spectrum goes from a 3.0 to a 3.9, right? And then it shifts 3.10, and then it shifts into 1 again, right? And I use those numbers not because that's the actual numbers, but I use those numbers because that gives us a linear perspective of how to think about frequency. It doesn't actually look like that. There's no such thing as numbers, okay? But so we can understand how we're shifting. In a third dimensional spectrum, we go from a 3.0 to a 3.10, and then we shift into a 4.0. Now we're in a fourth dimensional spectrum. Now we're living every now in a fourth dimensional spectrum. In that fourth dimensional spectrum, we go from a 4.0 to a 4.10, and then we shift into a fifth dimensional spectrum. And when I say shift, I mean you are physically anchored in that spectrum. Okay, so many of us are around the 3.8 to 4.2. This doesn't mean you aren't tapping into 5D consciousness. You're always tapping into 5D consciousness. You're tapping into 6D consciousness, maybe 7. You're tapping into all different types of dimensional consciousnesses because you're quantum. You're in a quantum space. You can tap into anything. Okay, but your body is holding a specific frequency within a specific spectrum. It's anchored in it. And that's going to dictate your reality. And that frequency changes like this throughout the day. However, that spectrum that your body holds is very small. So it's like a 3.7 to a 3.9, right? And then as it continues to increase, it goes from a 3.8 to a 4.0. And then as it shifts again, it goes from a 3.9 to a 4.2, right? And so throughout your nows, you're going like this in these frequencies. And at the exact same time, you're tapping into higher states of consciousness. You're moving through multiple dimensions, right? You're starting to see grid systems in your now, right? So your multidimensionality is opening up. So you're tapping into all these other dimensions. You're moving into the quantum space. There's all these other things that are happening. But in terms of the anchoring of the physical form, it vibrates and its frequency moves between 2 to 3 notches. Based on that notch, and it's just like your weight, right? Your weight varies. It just kind of moves up and down, right? If you're not trying to control your weight, your weight just naturally varies. The difference is in Ascension, it's always moving up. So based on where your frequency is in those 2 or 3 little slots, that's going to show you what you no longer are resonating with and what you are being asked to let go of in terms of belief systems, paradigms, programs. When you're watching your reality, when you're watching your resonance and you're saying, oh my God, I'm reading this book and this book is telling me that I can't eat tomatoes and that this is the only diet that's going to bring you into a higher frequency and blah, blah, blah. And you're reading that and you're thinking, holy shit, that doesn't resonate with me anymore. Your frequency is going up, right? You're starting to shift frequencies. You're moving out of a frequency that holds this book. And there is no right, wrong, good, or bad about any frequency. It is just frequency. It's just consciousness, which means any belief system is perfect. And every belief system works. Every belief system. So we never want to look out and say, that's not that's a bad or a low vibrational belief system, or that's a lower consciousness paradigm, or whatever that is, right? I'm beyond that now, whatever we may start to do. Because we're all on our own unique path. We're all in our own unique frequencies. We're all learning to navigate belief systems differently. I don't resonate with the belief system that you need probiotics, that you need digestive enzymes, that you need all these supplements and all of these natural things. Why? Because my body doesn't ask me to take them. That doesn't mean that those belief systems aren't true and don't work for millions of people. I also don't believe in the paradigm that there is a high vibe diet. I don't believe in diets. Why? Because my body will tell me in every now what it wants. And when your body is vibrating in a really high frequency, it doesn't matter what food you put in it. Your body, if you're really in your body, if you're embodied and you're listening to what your body wants, what you intake through that experience is not going to lower your vibration. Food doesn't have the power to do that. Light is way, way too potent to have a hamburger impact it, or to have a donut impact it. That's a belief system. It works. Millions of people believe that eating a high vibe diet, whatever that may be, green juices and all of that, increases their vibration. That's their reality. That is their belief. That may be happening. It's also very restrictive. When you start moving into and being in higher states of consciousness, you get freed from any restrictive linear boxes, which is, this is how you do things. This is how it is. There's tons of programs, paradigms, and belief systems in any big system, including the spiritual system. So what you want to start to allow yourself to have is the experience and resonance of, oh my God, wait a second. That feels very boxed. That feels very confined. What's my body asking? Because your body's pretty quiet. It doesn't, as it starts to move into higher frequencies, it doesn't require a lot because it's light. Light doesn't need a lot of stuff. Light needs rest. It needs some movement. It needs some food, but it needs less and less food as you get higher and higher in that light. It needs liquids, specific types of liquids depending upon the day, right? What's important, you guys, is not to judge your belief systems. Not to judge anybody else's belief systems. If you drink alcohol, fabulous. I guarantee you there'll be a moment when you won't, but go for it. If you smoke cigarettes, fabulous. Who am I to say not to smoke cigarettes, that that's not an okay thing, that that's not a high vibe thing, right? Or whatever we want to call it, right? If you're a vegan, fabulous. If you eat meat, potatoes, and French fries, fabulous. It's not my job to be concerned about anybody else's belief systems. I am not here to convince anybody, right? Our jobs as wayshowers and light workers is not to argue belief systems. Our jobs as wayshowers and light workers is to courageously allow ourselves to be honest and authentic about what we are resonating with and have the courage to shift out of it when it's time, when everybody around you isn't. Right? I just had to delete someone. This is a teaching that is that can be challenging to hold. And I'm aware of that, right? But it's also important to start to bring awareness to. Because you are going to start, if you haven't already, you will start experiencing it. And the purpose of this share, the purpose of this message is to give an example of what it looks like to shift into higher states of consciousness, what it looks like to be in higher states of consciousness. Because I believe, sometimes I feel like it is framed as this really beautiful thing that is always going to feel good as you start shifting. The more I shift into higher states, the more I'm going to feel amazing. That is true. However, the actual process of saying yes to moving and being in that state isn't always roses. Me having to surrender and say, okay, I am going to have to give everything over and let go and trust. Completely. Doing nothing. It's counterintuitive to what we are taught. Other than ACV oil, I'm supposed to do nothing. That's very counterintuitive to what we have been programmed to do. So being in this higher state of consciousness is requiring me to trust being in a way that I've never been in and that most people around me aren't in. This is what's happening to you. This is what's being asked of you. All of you. In your own unique way, you are all being asked this. It may not be this exact shift, but all of you are being asked to start shifting out of old belief systems. And you're noticing that as you start tiptoeing into these new states of being, that there are opinions about it from other people, that there are beliefs about it from other people, that it can be scary. Can I do it? What does it even look like? How do I know I'm safe? How do I know I'm not going to die or get sick or have no money or whatever that is for you, be alone, whatever those fears are, right? That's ascension. This is part of the ascension process that you can't ignore or deny. So yes, is ascension opening the heart? Yes. Is it talking to the galactic beings? Yes. Bring in the Galactic Federation of Light every moment, right? Is it feeling unity consciousness? Yes. Is it expanding into these higher states? Yes. And is it also saying, holy shit, I have to jump into this new way of being and surrender and trust and let go of things and be in ways I've never been before, and everybody around me is not being it? Yes. Welcome to Ascension. This is it. This is what this is all about. And the more authentic we can be about it, the more honest and real we can be about it, the easier it will be for us to just go through it, which is why I shared this. Because here I was, somebody that really thought they listened to their bodies, right? Really in tune with their bodies. Doesn't play in programs and paradigms and belief systems that are wrapped in fear, right? Really conscious and aware of like my reality, my frequency, all of that. And here I was getting this parasitic thing in my small intestine. And a week and a half in, I am diving deep. I am human, 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 human. I am playing and being and like just devouring fear. I'm devouring control. I'm devouring my egoic structure and letting it tell me what to do, right? All of that. All of it. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't recognize, oh, this is no more. This is no more, Lori. If you keep doing this, you're just going to get more and more sick. That was what was so frightening. This is what my guides do to me. They force me into these higher states. They make sure, they've done this many times to me. They make sure I recognize that the old ways of doing things isn't going to work. Meaning, nothing I was doing was working for me. It wasn't helping. Other people it may have helped because they weren't quite ready yet to move into that higher state. So they may have done some things that I did and it would have healed. It would have helped. I was being shown by my guides, hey, guess what? It's time for you to start being in this higher state where your body heals everything and you do nothing no matter what comes in. And so I literally am forced. The forcing is, oh, Lori, guess what? You're continuing to do this and nothing's happening, nothing's working, nothing's going. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. When are you going to stop? And then I get to this place of like, okay, I should probably just stop controlling anything. And that's when my guides kind of chuckle and say, thank God you stopped. Now can you listen? And this is how we want you to be. This is what's being asked of you. This is what all of you are going through, right? It's not, you might not be going through any sort of physical ailments. You may be shifting out of a belief system that is telling you that you have to work a 9-to-5 job, right? And that it's all about the amount of hours that you work in order to make a huge amount of money, right? And that it's about stress and anxiety and, you know, all of that. That may be a belief system that you're like, holy shit, this doesn't resonate with me anymore. I'm tired of doing this and doing this and doing this. And your guides are saying you don't need to anymore. You actually can move into a job that is easy and stress-free and fun. And then you're saying, well, no, I can't, because how am I going to make money? And your guides are saying, that's not your job. See, my job is not to worry about how my body's going to heal. Your job is not to worry about how you're going to make money. It doesn't make logic sense sometimes. When you start stepping into the higher states of consciousness, logic goes out the window, because logic only exists in a 3D consciousness. It only exists in denser consciousnesses. Logic makes sense. Oh, that's logical. That makes sense. Scientific proof. That makes sense. Tangible evidence. That makes sense. But when you start moving into these higher states of consciousness, when you start getting asked to be in new ways, it's not going to make sense to you. You're going to be battling your guides and your higher self. You're going to say, well, how is this going to happen? If I leave this partner and I move into this town or into this city or I move across country, how am I going to meet somebody? How am I going to make a living? Where am I going to live, right? And they're going to say to you, that's not your job. Trust us. And you're going to say, oh shit, I don't think I can yet. Great, we'll wait till you can. And then they're going to tell you again, hey, guess what? You don't have to live in that belief system anymore, where relationships are really hard and relationships are meant to be tons of work and you're supposed to be settling and you're supposed to be sacrificing, right? That belief system may not work for you. It may work for many people. And believe me, belief systems are beautiful, right? Let's not judge belief systems. But what I'm saying is, if that belief system doesn't work for you anymore and you're being asked to leave, you're also going to be looking at this Gumby of like, oh shit, I have to leave everything I've known to be my truth and my comfort into something that I can't control. Welcome to higher states of consciousness. I don't know the result of. Welcome to higher states of consciousness. I don't have any proof, any tangible proof that it's going to work out. Welcome to higher states of consciousness. There are many times that I would not have had the courage to step into these higher states of consciousness if my guides didn't force me. Meaning, I was running around, in this belief system or in this paradigm or in this 3D consciousness. And finally, I just said, I'm done. What am I doing? And then it was like, here's where we want you to go. Now go. And I was so exhausted. I just said, fine, I'll do it. Fine, I'll go. The way I understand abundance, the reason that I live in an abundance frequency, not because I chose to. I live in an abundance frequency because I was forced by my guides to move out of my house with all my comforts, with my job, and move to Mount Shasta, where I had no job. I was starting my business. I had no clients. I had no money coming in. None. $0 pulling into the machine. And I had to go. And I had to fall into the deepest surrender I've ever fallen into. And as I started experiencing what that felt like to move into a frequency of abundance, there were many times where I was like, well, this is the Gumby effect I talk about, right? Well, if it doesn't work out, I can always go back. If it doesn't work out, I can always go back. And yet I knew and trusted that I was there for a reason, that it was going to be okay, that I was going to be taken care of, that I would always be taken care of. I don't know how I'm going to be taken care of, but I'm going to be taken care of. I held that frequency. And I didn't hold the frequency of, oh shit, I'm not going to be taken care of. Oh shit, I'm not going to be taken care of. I didn't fall into fear. I forced myself and chose to be in, I'm taken care of, I'm taken care of, I'm taken care of. This is a choice. It's all a choice, right? I say that I was forced, but of course I chose. And so I learned what the abundance frequency is. I learned that it's not doing or being anything other than standing in a bubble of frequency that we call abundance, that allows us to open up to this frequency that you are always taken care of. It has nothing to do with numbers, dollar bills, a number in your bank account. That's not what abundance is. It's an actual frequency that flows through your now, that provides you with money, numbers, and your job as a being in that abundance is to not control it. Again, we learn as we move into these higher states, it has nothing to do with control. I don't control money. I don't control abundance. I don't control how much I make. When you are vibrating in abundance, you are letting go of controlling how anything comes in. And you are trusting in that frequency, that everything is coming at exactly the right time, in the exact amount of money, whatever number that is, and I don't have to control it. Just like as I am being asked to stand now in this space where I don't control the healing of my physical form. And God knows what else they're going to ask me to do, and then so on and so on. But I am learning that each time it has to do with surrendering even deeper, letting go of control, and trusting. Because nobody is physically standing there saying, Lori, this is what you have to do next. You know, this is it. Go do this. You're going to be fine. Nobody was sitting at my bed in the morning and saying, your body's going to heal. Don't worry. Listen to what your guides and your body is saying. No one's going to do that. And we have to have so much compassion for ourselves. It is breaking out of belief systems is no joke, because belief systems work. They're not bad. They're not good. They're not anything. They just are, but they're not negative things that are bad for you necessarily, right? But you're being asked to move out of them, right? They don't resonate anymore, right? We're all on different paths. We're all vibrating a little bit differently. Maybe some of us are in the exact same frequency right now, but we are all being asked to shift out of where we are into something new. And we will continue to. We are always moving. And it takes so much courage to do this. It takes so much courage to do what you're doing. Every day to show up. Whether you say yes that day or no that day, whether you argue with your guides or whether you agree with your guides, whether you can't hear your guides or you can, whether you're frustrated or not frustrated, whether you're in flow or in resistance, in control or releasing control, wherever you are. It's no easy feat doing this. This is real. This is legitimately real. And it's fabulous to feel the higher states. But you still have to be human, and you still have to consciously, courageously, patiently practice shifting into being in higher states of consciousness. It's not good enough to just tap into the higher states and feel them. That's like just sitting and meditating all day, or going on a vacation and staying on that vacation. You have to come home. You have to work. You have to get up and go. You have to practice. Right? We have to practice. Does this make sense? You know, it's interesting when I am, we're always asking, why did we sign up for this, right? Like, but on the other side, you guys, this is the big dance. I say this all the time, but this is what we've been waiting for. This is it. This is the physical shift. This is the actual physical shift that we are starting. Many of you have have played in these lifetimes for thousands of years in order to be now in this now shifting physically. Many of you have been assisting from above in ship, in craft, in planets, in galactic systems, in high frequency light systems for millions of years, and are now coming in to actually participate in this miraculous physical shift in consciousness. I've said this many times, but normally the way consciousness shifts, because it's in a high enough vibration, is it just chooses to be in another consciousness, and then it becomes that consciousness. For instance, if a ninth dimensional Pleiadian is done being a ninth dimensional Pleiadian and now wants to be a 25th dimensional consciousness, it literally chooses in that now and becomes that 25th dimensional consciousness. That's how consciousness moves, instantaneously through intent and energy, meaning intent and frequency. When you are in a dense frequency like this, and you are deciding to shift in that density, it's a gosh darn miracle. It's an absolute freaking miracle. Because you're shifting consciousness, dense consciousness, within physicality. So the physical form is shifting with you. And by the way, the physical form is what's allowing you to shift. It doesn't matter how high frequency you get in your body. It's your physical, it's the body that is physically allowing you to anchor into and be in the higher states. This is all about the body. All about the body. Which is why not only do we start listening more and more to the body and not the belief systems, but we start remembering the body, what it actually is, the intelligence that it is. I see my body as a completely separate entity from me. I listen to it like a separate entity. Or at least I try to, until I decide that I'm not going to anymore and take control and take charge. And then that doesn't work very well. And it can heal. And we have patience with ourselves, because if you break an arm, sure, your body can heal it, but let's get real. We're going to go to the doctor and we're going to get it fixed, right? So let's not go cuckoo crazy about this whole healing thing right away, right? It's all going to start to get more intense as we start shifting into higher frequencies. We never want to force ourselves to be anything other than what we are in the now. Meaning, you don't want to try to shift yourself into being something that your vibration isn't at yet, right? So you don't want to force yourself to say, oh, I'm going to heal this right now, if you're actually not capable of healing it, meaning that you are not holding a frequency where you are trusting that your body can heal it. I'm at a frequency right now where I trust that my body can heal the parasites. 2 years ago, I might not have been there, right? So we want to trust, we want to honor where we are and not try to force ourselves and not get upset if we're not somewhere else, right? Happens all the time in the spiritual community. We hear teachers talk, or we hear spiritual teachers talk, and they're talking about how they're being in these higher states and experiencing these things, right? And then we look at our own experience and we're like, what the freak? I'm not doing that. I'm not experiencing that. I'm not living that way. I'm not having that. And then there's something wrong with us, right? Like we're not doing this right, like fast enough, like what's going on? And it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with your body anchoring the light in the speed at which it wants to. And your experience is going to be very unique. So if one teacher is talking about how they open their third eye a specific way and they have all these unique experiences and they do all these crazy things and who knows what else they do, right? You may never experience that. You may have a completely different experience as you are ascending, right? So we have to let go of the judgments that we're holding. The judgments around how ascension is supposed to be. Every journey is unique and different. you may never find yourself having any sort of experience similar to what I'm describing. You're always shifting states of consciousness, and you're always being asked to move into different states of consciousness. But you may never experience anything that I'm talking about, which is fine. So if it's so important in this community of ascension to not hold judgments around ourselves, expectations around ourselves, right? I mean, you deserve a freaking party every morning when you wake up just because you're in a human form. Literally, when you jump out of bed, there should be a party going off, like balloons and like presents and a cake. Gluten-free cake for those of you that don't eat gluten, right? Every morning, here you go. Thank you for being human. Now go. Right? That would be fabulous. That would really get us going. Maybe, not all of us. But that's what's happening in the higher realms. That's what's happening all over the earth plane right now. If you guys could see, and maybe many of you have, but if you could see the amount of beings, angelic realms, masters that are watching you right now, you would stand up and take a bow, or you'd start crying, or you would just gasp. It's that big. So we get tunnel vision, right? It's normal. We get this tunnel vision. I always have it, where it's all about me and my journey and my ascension and like, you know, what I'm going through and how I'm navigating it. And it's like, Lori, don't forget this big picture. Don't forget the big freaking picture. Let us show you what's out there. And you're like, oh my God, the sky is literally filled with craft. If we could see into sixth dimensional consciousness, if we could see into the sixth dimension, we would see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of craft. They're busy at work as well, working with us, working with the earth plane, working with collectives down here, human collectives. Hi, Bridget. I need my cake. You're so welcome, Heather. Welcome. Yeah, you know, the beautiful piece about the ascension journey is, and this is with everything that we're doing, it's being able to hold our multidimensionality, which is I'm human and I'm going to play human, the human aspect, right? I played human aspect for a week and it was quite interesting. But I'm also a light being, and my body is also increasing in light. And there are also all these beings that are around me at all times. And there's also all of these beings and galactics and angelics around us at all times. And then beyond even that, right? All of that is happening. All in the now. And we get to practice holding all of that. And you're not trying to be one or the other. It doesn't make any sense because you're all of it. You're the human aspect in form. You're the light being in the etheric body. You're the higher self in the 8th energy center. You're the I am presence that's in the 12th energy center, right? And your consciousness that's not even participating, your consciousness that is outside of all of that, and your source. We're all of this. And of course, we all are holding that same spark. We all originated from that same essence, God, source, whatever you want to call it. We all did. And we have all experienced much different frequencies and consciousnesses, right? This was an experience that for some reason we decided to come in and play in, the Earth experiment. And this is just one now that's being experienced in a massively large quantum field that holds any dimensional consciousness you can think of. This is a blip. This is like a quick little, what's it called when you blink? Quick blink of an eye. And it's intense and it's dense and it's human and we're in form and we're moving out of paradigms and we're moving out of fears and we're moving out of belief systems and we're moving out of relationships and we're learning how to stand in abundance and we're understanding frequency and energy. We're remembering there's a quantum space that we can tap into, right? We're remembering that there's a heart center in us that when we open that up, that portal up, it's like, oh my God, you feel such unity, you feel such peace, you feel such joy, you feel connection. We're learning all of it. Any questions? Eye floaters. Like the little things that are moving through the eyes. I don't know what that is. I experienced that a little while ago, maybe a couple years ago. Here's what's happening. When the energy starts to increase inside your body because the energy is coming in faster, spinning faster, right? It's activating your DNA, which means that it's turning the DNA into more of a light. So less carbon, more light. And when that happens, it naturally activates your multidimensionality, which means your ability to be in a multidimensional state, which means being in many dimensions at the same time. The human form is designed to be in different dimensions at the same time, because it's designed to shift. So when that light activates that DNA that is dense, the DNA are light codes and they are designed to activate your senses. One of the senses is the eyes. So your physical eyes are going to start to shift. They're going to kind of turn on more. You're going to start to see other dimensions. You may see lights, you may see grids, you may see floaties in the beginning in your eyes, you may see lights moving around you, right? Your ears, your senses are starting to change. You're going to start to hear more, right? High tones, buzzings. A lot of us get that ringings in the ears. That's a high, that is your ears literally turning on, calibrating the high frequencies that are around you. When your taste buds start to turn on, right? You're going to taste things differently. You're going to smell things differently. And then your multidimensional senses, like your third eye, is going to turn on and get activated. And everyone is experiencing this a little bit differently. Maybe you experience it similar to how other people are talking about it, and maybe not. We aren't all going to experience it the same way, right? It's a huge misconception that if somebody is saying this is the experience, then this must be the experience. No, we all can experience it very differently. Right? It doesn't mean that you aren't ascending or shifting into higher states of consciousness if you're not experiencing it the way this other person is experiencing it. We're not all designed to do this in a unilateral way, in a linear, constructive, this is the steps, this is what you do, this is what it feels like, this is what it looks like. Right? Everything shifts. I can't see either. My eyes are I actually need to get glasses, but yeah, a lot of the foods you used to eat, you may not be able to eat anymore. Like they just feel denser, they just don't feel good, right? Like, who knows? Any other questions? Bloating lately. My friends have it too for different reasons, at least half of them. The others, anger issues, how to help with anger, they shut down. So bloating issues can be a lot of different things, a multitude of things. So my recommendation is any physical ailment you have, start to talk to your body. So with bloating, it can be foods you're eating. It can be energy that is stuck. It can be an actual energy center, the solar plexus or the sacral, that is literally not spinning, right? There's something stuck energetically, either an emotion or some sort of density that is stuck and it needs to clear out, right? What are you being asked to go do that you may not be listening to? Like, are they asking you to go sweat? Are they asking you to go walk? Are they asking you to sit in an infrared sauna? They're asking you to, cut back on certain things, right? We all have the answers. We all have the answers within our own physical form. The body will tell you exactly what it needs. Remember, we just have to trust. Put your hands on your belly and ask, what's going on here? What is it? And pay attention to what other people may be telling you it is. Stop listening to other people, you guys. We have to stop listening to other people. We have to just listen to us. We are the only ones that know our truth. We are the only ones that are listening to our bodies. We're the only ones that are listening to our guides. I mean, unless you go to a reader, but even if you go to a reader, be careful, right? So you want to just bring everything back to you. What am I feeling? What am I thinking? What's happening with me? What am I hearing? What is my body telling me? I had different people telling me all kinds of things. Do this, do this, do this, do this. It was all their beliefs. It was their beliefs, not mine, not my body's. Definitely not my body's. How do I get out of deep depression? How do you get out of deep depression? It's a very good question. I haven't fallen into a deep depression in a very long time, so I'm just going to be upfront about that. What I can say about deep depression is it is rest. Underneath the deep depression, it's rest. And it's a deep surrendering. Everything is offering up us an opportunity to move into a higher state. Depression is an opportunity to move into a higher state of consciousness. Ailments is an opportunity to step into higher states of consciousness. Losing a job is an opportunity. Losing a relationship is an opportunity. Getting in a car accident is an opportunity. Everything is an opportunity to move us into a higher state of consciousness, depending upon how much we are listening or not, right? We are always being guided. Always. The higher self is always communicating. When you find yourself in a state of depression where you are debilitated, it is very challenging to stay open to receiving. Many times when you are in a state of depression that is debilitating, the best thing you can do is leave the environment for a moment. Get out of the environment that you are in, right? A lot of times when we're depressed, we stay stagnant in our house. We stay stagnant in our bed. We stay stagnant in our couch, in our house, whatever that is. And sometimes by moving outside, just by sitting outside for 5 minutes, it can assist the energy in moving. right? My recommendation for people that are depressed, and I would say this to my best friend all the time because he was he was suicidal for years. You can't you can't force somebody out of depression. You can't force somebody out of suicide. That's the suicidal thoughts, right? Just like you can't force somebody to stop drinking. They have to make the choice. A person that's depressed has to make the choice. But I always recommended moving the energy, shifting the energy, going for a walk, listening to something other than what you're listening to, going and engaging with people, exercising, right? Anything other than what you want to do, which is sit in the depression. And then specifically for you, the person that asked the question, I would start opening my crown chakra and opening your crown chakra and starting to listen. Even in your depressed state, start to listen. Say, I am open. I'm open to receiving guidance. I'm open to receiving guidance. I'm open to receiving guidance. What's going on? What do I need to hear? What do I need to listen to? Also, listen to the belief systems you're telling yourself. Listen to the old behaviors and thought patterns that you're saying to yourself and that you're doing. A lot of times when we're in that depressed state, there's a tape playing. What's the tape that's playing? What's the tape that is playing? That tape is being asked to be released. That's why it's coming up over and over and over. Are there waves of energy coming in right now? On and off, body tingles, more intense each time. Not sure what's going on. Anyone else? The chakras cannot be too open unless you are forcing them open by trying to open them in doing some sort of activity, right? Like if you sit and are trying to open your chakras and spin them really, really fast, and they're not currently spinning as fast as you're trying to spin them, then you might want to be careful. But it's not, you can't hurt yourself. There's nothing wrong with the energy centers spinning fast. What was the other question? I forgot. Oh, the energy is coming and going. Listen, since 2020, even a couple of months before that, there are constant portals opening right now, and we are being influxed, whatever that word is, with tons of light all the time. So it's rare that we are in kind of like a flat line or a pause, right? The pauses are far and few between. So I don't even talk about portals being open anymore because they're just always happening. Like, oh, today's a day where there's massive amounts of light flooding in. The reason for this is because we are shifting faster. The beings that are assisting us, and Earth herself is requesting this light to come in faster and more from the sun, right? So we're being inundated with more light, faster frequencies, meaning it's spinning much faster and more of it. So you're going to notice that there are days where you're like, oh my God, there's so much light. And then there's days where everything feels calm. And then there's days where there's like, oh, I can feel high frequency. It's no longer like it used to be where it goes weeks where everything's just kind of whatever, chill sort of. And then boom, high frequency light comes in. We are now in a stage of ascension where it is literally all the time. And so the great thing about that is now that you're embodied and now that you are energetic and now that you are feeling more and more of your every now, you get to experience the high frequency times, right? Where the light is coming in and your body is vibrating. You feel vertigo, you get headaches. You're feeling massive amounts of love for humanity and joy and peace and like, oh my God, life is great. And, almost like you're in a euphoric state, right? And then the high frequency light slows down and quiets, like the little portal closes, and then you're back to being a human, right? And then you're noticing, like, is something wrong with me? Why do I feel so much heavier today? Or why do I feel denser today? There's something wrong with you. The portals have to close because they have to allow the body to anchor the light. It has to acclimate and assimilate that light in order to anchor it down, in order for us to continue to shift into and hold these higher frequencies. Anything else before I go? Brady, one of my biggest symptoms has been me becoming my own teacher, guru, and advisor. Thanks for helping me to that path. Yeah, it's huge. Huge. Huge, huge, huge. Can you address fatigue during ascension? Listen, if I were, my next book I'm writing is going to be The Stages of Ascension, and it's literally going to say exhaustion all over the book, right? Every stage, exhaustion. Every stage, exhaustion. Every stage, exhaustion. If you're in this stage, you're also going to be exhausted. If you're in this stage, you're also going to be exhausted. I think that exhaustion is just part of the ascension, and I don't know when it's going to end. I just think that depends on what you're holding within your body. It depends on where you're at in your nows. It depends on what you're moving out of. But the reason for the exhaustion is because it is the body that is doing all the work. So the body is going to tell you to stop so that it can do the work it's here to do. We have been programmed to believe that exhaustion is a bad thing. It means there's something wrong. We shouldn't be sleeping this much. We shouldn't be. That's a paradigm. That's a belief system, right? The belief system says you shouldn't be exhausted all the time. There's something wrong with you. You're sick, right? You shouldn't be sleeping this much. There's something wrong with you. That is a belief system. When you are focused in on the ascension process, you recognize, oh no, it's just my body that literally needs 3 days of rest, 4 days of rest, however many days of rest, because it is trying to assimilate and acclimate and anchor that light, which requires so much energy. Right? So we have to just say exhaustion is part of being an awakened ascending human. It's just part of the journey. And is there any message from the ETs tonight? The beings have been very quiet, but I can with me the last couple of days because they've been trying to get me to listen. But one of the things that has been coming up, and I'm going to do my next live guided journey is going to be with the blue avions, because one of the things that they have been saying is that there is a massive amount of humans that are either conscious or unconscious, meaning they recognize or they don't recognize that there is still a massive amount of healing or clearing that needs to happen. Like a gate needs to open and the energy just needs to move out. Many of us are consciously ascending and we're not even aware that there is still density that's saying, hey, you're not quite listening to me. I need to clear. Right? We've been doing this for so long that we're sort of like, we're getting kind of almost stagnant. Like, if it's not super intense, then we must be all clear. And so the blue avians have been coming in really loud. And there is a specific activation that they did with me that they want to do with the public that allows us to consciously clear out a density that we may not even know is in our bodies. We may not have any idea until the moment we get in with the blue avions and they say, hey, what about this? And you're like, oh shit. And then there's this really powerful way that they showed me to clear it, right? And the reason that they're saying this and that they're coming in right now is because everything is accelerating really quickly. And so they are trying to push us. They're trying to get us going, right? I mean, how many of you are like literally feeling constant nudges and pushes? Like it's really aggravating, right? Like, okay, I got it. I got it. I got it, right? It's like we are really being pushed into these higher states of consciousness. So there's many of us that are still holding that density. So that's one of the messages that has been coming in. I mean, I've been so focused on my own process this past week that I haven't been engaging with many of the beings at all. But yeah, so that's a big one that's been coming in. You're strong enough to do this, Candace, because you're doing it. So nothing is being presented to you that you're not capable of stepping into. Nothing. I'm telling you, the journey of ascending and stepping into higher states of consciousness takes so much courage, right? It takes a lot of courage. So whatever is being asked of you is only being asked of you because you can do it. And you want to have compassion with yourself if you're not ready. Right? We always want to have compassion with ourselves. I also want to talk about, they're also coming in right now. There are many of you listening that are like, none of this is happening to me. I'm totally chill. Like everything's chill. I'm not being asked to do anything. I'm not being asked to go anywhere, move anything. I'm not getting sick where I have to like step into these higher states. Like everything's rock and roll over on my side. Right. And so what they want to say is that, that is your unique journey, right? Your process, your journey right now is pretty clear, right? You're not being rocked around the way others are for whatever reason, however your experience was being raised and brought up, whatever you have done in terms of clearing or not clearing, however you have set up your reality now, whatever it is, right? There are many on this live and many in this ascension journey that are like, I'm rocking this right now. I don't know what the heck she's talking about, right? But don't get too comfortable, they're saying. Don't get too comfortable because there's always more that's going to be asked of you, right? There's always going to be stretches, Gumby stretches, right? If that makes sense. Okay. Anything else before I go? Any other questions? I think we're done. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Hopefully this was useful. Okay. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up on this Saturday evening, afternoon. Maybe it's Saturday morning. Maybe it's Sunday morning. Whatever it may be for you. And yeah, go back and listen if you missed it. Let me know if you have any questions down below in the comments. I'll try to listen, or I'll try to respond. And I will see you guys again when I come back on live, whenever that may be. Okay? I love you guys. Be gentle with yourselves. Give yourself a big hug. Big human hug right now. And I'll see you next time. Love ya. Bye.